Otherwise, they won't be able to hear you. And Trish actually's got to do the foghorn anyway.
Good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and podcast and our YouTube channel. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so you can follow along. Tonight's recap will start on page 49 and end on page 51. Our study tonight will start on page 51 and go to page 52. Do I have any announcements for the good of AA in this group?
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, and I touched on the changes that we're making in being able to unmute and rename yourself and everything, and that's strictly for security purposes. Oh yeah, I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. Sorry if those of you who weren't able to make it to our sponsorship workshop this last week, but we should have it up on our YouTube channel before too long, and it was a phenomenal workshop. Turned out very well. On Sunday, March 15th, we will be having a trusted servants meeting for those who are group officers in this group to decide what to bring for our group conscience, and our group conscience will be held on Monday night the 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. If you're not a member of this home group but you'd like to be, all you have to do is send Trish a message and she can add you to our home group list. If you're new to us, we're glad you're here, and we hope that you will enjoy what we have to offer in this meeting. If you come to our group conscience and you're not a registered home group member, you can listen, but you won't have a voice in our group conscience until you become a home group member. But we are happy to have observers, and that's what I got for you, except for on March 22nd, 28th, and 29th, I will be going to Second Quarter Assembly to represent District 40, which we are part of, and we will also be having a pre-conference with our delegate Heather L. on the 27th, and we will send that information out and get it posted in chat as well. So come join us, and you'll know what's going on at the General Service Conference coming up this year in April. Thank you. Did we lose you, Shayna or Terry?
I'm here. Terry
lost me. Yeah. Okay, pre-meditation. Good evening, everybody. I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Terry Pickle Chips. Welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic, and my name is Shayna. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing as not to distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. A friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share. We will call on you in the order hands are raised.
From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are focus on your breath and posture. Breathe in God and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study.
And let me get to the monks here and enjoy your time with God, folks.
That's you, Terry.
Oh, fog light prayer. Should I start it? Usually Trish does. I'm waiting for Trish here. Okay, will you join me in the fog light prayer? God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
Amen. And let's have our secretary's report. Come on in, Steph. Oh, do I have to send you a...
She should be able to unmute.
Make it a little bigger so I can read it.
Okay, hang on, Kenny. Stephanie should be able to unmute, but she has no audio.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, my name is Stephanie and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I've asked Kenny to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Kenny.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Kenny, recovered alcoholic. Recovered, we are, it's hard for me to read, it's real small.
Turn your phone sideways, Kenny.
Okay. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured, that presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction of alcohol will follow us, will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. We are now saying where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only element to sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the foreword to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX. Of Alcoholics Anonymous who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapsed, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
Oh, welcome, Sheila.
Welcome, Sheila, and we have Andrew, and we have Christian, and we have Kevin, and we have Steve.
Nice.
And
welcome, Christian.
We have Beth, and we have Suzanne and Ronnie. And I apologize if I missed anybody, but grateful to have you with us tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Okay, and then the recovered alcoholics. These are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week? Anyone have a special day you'd like to acknowledge?
Beth does. Let me send her an unmute key. There, I sent you an unmute key, Beth.
Thank you. Yes, Beth Alcoholic. My sobriety date is February 18th, 2016.
Ooh, 10 years.
10 years.
Congratulations, and hang on, and Trish will pull up a chip for you.
Thank you. My sponsor got me a really pretty one. I'm so excited. She's such a wonderful lady.
Wonderful.
And I like virtual chips too, so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Glad to have you with us.
10 is huge. Worthy of a screenshot here.
Oh, that's a good one.
Congratulations. Very nice. Congratulations. Okay, if you should require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail, delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our seventh tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo or PayPal posted in chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in chat. Thank you, and see you next week, Lord willing.
Thank you, Steph. Okay, from chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself, nor the reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Now, before we begin our study of the Big Book, we're going to review traditions. Last week we reviewed tradition 5. Tonight, let's take a quick look at tradition 6. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous. And Jamie is our traditionalist.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie. Very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and grateful that all of you are here tonight. First, the short form. Tradition 6. An AA group ought never endorse or finance or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise. Least money of problems, problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. And the long form. Problems of money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. We think, therefore, any considerable property of genuine use to AA should be separately incorporated and managed, thus dividing the material from the spiritual. An AA group, as such, should never go into business. Secondary aids to AA, such as clubs, hospitals, which require much property or administration, ought to be incorporated and so set apart. If necessary, they can be freely discarded by the groups. Hence, such facilities ought not use the AA name. The management should be the sole responsibility of those who financially support them. For clubs, AA managers are usually preferred, but hospitals, as well as other places of recuperation, ought to be well outside AA and medically supervised. While an AA group may cooperate with anyone, such cooperation should never go as far as affiliation or endorsement, actual or implied. An AA group may bind itself to no one. So the first thing that I want to say is you see some parts, some elements of what I just read in our preamble about that's just really important. And drew kind of a blank there. But there again, the elements is that we don't endorse. So, I don't know about the rest of you, but myself, when I got sober in an Alano Club environment, and it was completely a separate entity. It's where I went to AA meetings, and there was probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 meetings a week there, meetings 3 times a day. We also, as the club, they provided space for Alateen, Al-Anon, and Alatot, but AA itself, the meetings were separate from that. So the way that worked is the club had its own board of directors, and it got support. So, for example, back then, it was $10 a month to become a member of the club, and that's how they got their support. They also did things like they had a full grill, and so you could go in and buy food and so on. But the only thing that they did was they rented space to the meetings to be able to for the meetings to go on, and that space was contingent on how many people were in the meeting itself. So if it was 10 to 25 people, The room rent was $5 for the night. If it was up to 50, it would go up to 10, and then we would buy coffee from the club by the pot for $1 a pot, and it worked out very well, and it was very successful. There's a real good reason that we don't put our name on hospitals in Alcoholics Anonymous, because hospitals do a different thing. Same thing with treatment centers. We don't lend our name to them either. And even though someone may go to treatment and learn about Alcoholics Anonymous, and maybe a panel of 3 people come into Alcoholics Anonymous and bring a meeting into the people who are in treatment, the treatment center themselves cannot hold the meetings as Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. Somebody from the outside is supposed to do that. Now, are there people who probably try and skirt around that? Yes, absolutely. But I think it's real important that we as a group don't bind ourselves to anyone at all. We in this group have no other affiliation except for who we are and what we do as a group of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we stay grounded in the literature. And as it talked about that none of this should divert us from our primary purpose, which takes us back to Tradition 5. The primary purpose of every AA group ought to be to carry the message that is in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the Big Book of Recovery. But I've been to some groups that don't have that as their primary purpose. For example, they might want it to be the My Dead Cat meeting, and that's what they turn it into, and somebody shares about their dead cat, and you hear the next 14 people sharing about how their cat died, and it's got nothing to do with the pathway to sobriety. So these are all important things. The traditions are to the group what the steps are to the individual. So thank you, and we'll see you next week for Tradition 7.
Excellent. Thank you. And now it's time for our segment of That Ain't in the Big Book.
Now it's time for our weekly installment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the things we often hear is, this is a selfish program. And Andrew will tell us what it says on page 97, paragraph 2.
Oh, Andrew, here, let me send you an unmute key. There.
All right, so pretty sure this is it. Is it helping others is the foundation stone
Yes.
of your recovery. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You have to act the Good Samaritan every day if need be. It may mean the loss of many nights' sleep, great interference with your pleasures, interruptions to your business. Go all the way to the end here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It may mean sharing your money and your home, counseling frantic wives and relatives, innumerable trips to police courts, sanitariums, hospitals, jails, and asylums. Your telephone may jangle at any time of the day or night.
Thank you. Andrew, you did awesome. Thank you. And as we study, please make use of pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight we're going to start our recap on page 49, which will be read tonight by Nancy, followed by our study portion, read by Jim, and that will begin on page 51.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back on our study portion that was read by Nancy. The study portion.
Jim.
Read by Jim. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer, split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is that we're going to read the material once through, then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the question gives us new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, you're free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you may hear a timer beep to let you know that your time is finished.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, i.e. a sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
And how we arrived at this point, I am not the best at explaining it, but I can try to nutshell. This study began in Jamie, Mr. Pickle's house 6 years ago. When COVID hit, it became hybrid, and then slowly tapered into Zoom online, or online only at this point, and we're able to reach all the states in the United States and different countries. We have, I think, somebody in Denmark today. I'm sure we've touched quite a few other countries. It's 96 weeks. See, I'm looking for the nods. 96 weeks, and this is our 4th time through. Oh, still getting the nods. All right. We read cover to cover. Well, I would say front cover to, I know it's more than 164 because we read after. We read To the Employer, To the Wives, and Dr. Bob's Nightmare. And then we start back over. Okay, what did I miss? I'm seeing the smiles.
4 weeks of the traditions, and we visit on week 96. We visit the spiritual experience for the 4th and final time as a standalone meeting. There you have it.
I do recall. Good job. All right, thank you. And Terry, your turn.
Okay, after the study, bring in the recap leader. Okay, recap leader Nancy, come on in.
You got one line before we start the recap, Terry.
Okay, it's something about raising our virtual hands before questions. No, after the study.
Before we start the recap.
Before we start the recap, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised if you would like to be one of our answer readers. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and our YouTube channel. Okay.
Now bring it in.
Now, Nancy.
Now it's Nancy's turn. Oh, we have to send you a mute. There it
There
is.
we go. Okay, Nancy Alcoholic, page 49. We who have traveled this grievous path beg you to lay aside prejudice, even against organized religion. We have learned that whatever the human frailties of various faiths may be, those faiths have given purpose and direction to millions. People of faith have logical idea of what life is all about. Actually, we used to amuse ourselves by cynically dissecting spiritual beliefs and practices when we might have observed that many spiritually minded persons of all races, colors, and creeds were demonstrating a degree of stability, happiness, and usefulness which we should have sought ourselves. Instead, we look at the human defects of these people and sometimes use their shortcomings as a basis of wholesome condemnation. We talked of intolerance while we were intolerant ourselves. We missed the reality and the beauty of the forest because we were diverted by the ugliness of some of the streets. We never gave the spiritual side of life a fair hearing. In our personal stories, we will find a wide variation in the way each teller approaches and perceives of the power which is greater than himself. Whether we agree with particular modes of perception seems to make little difference. Experience has taught us that these are matters about which, for our purpose, we need not to be worried. They are questions for each individual to settle for himself. On one proposition, however, these men and women are strikingly agreed. Every one of them has gained access to and believes in a power greater than themselves, than himself. This power has in each case accomplished the miraculous, the humanly impossible. As the celebrated American statesman put it, let's look at the record. Here are thousands of men and women, worldly indeed. They, they flatly declare that since they have come to believe in a power greater than themselves, to make such a certain attitude towards that power, and to certain simple things, there has been a revolutionary change in their way of living and thinking. In the face of collapse and despair, in the face of the total failure of their human resources, they found that a new power, peace, happiness, and sense of direction flows into them. This happened soon after they wholeheartedly met a few simple requirements. Once confused and baffled by the seemingly futility of existence, they showed the underlying reasons why they were making heavy going of life. Leaving aside the drink question, they tell why living was so unsatisfactory. They show how the change came over them. When many hundreds of people are able to say that the consciousness of the presence of God is today the most important fact of their lives. They present a powerful reason why one should have faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And Jim, you want to come on in?
Yeah, yes, indeed. Jim, an alcoholic. Um, Good to see you all here, fellow travelers. Alrighty, page 51. This world of ours has made more material progress in the last century than in all the millenniums which went before. Almost everyone knows the reason. Students of ancient history tell us that the intellect of men in those days was equal to the best of today. Yet, in ancient times, material progress was painfully slow. The spirit of modern scientific inquiry, research, and invention was almost unknown. In the realm of the material, men's minds were fettered by superstition, tradition, and all sorts of fixed ideas. Some of the contemporaries of Columbus thought a round earth preposterous. Others came near putting Galileo to death for his astronomical heresies. We asked ourselves this: are not some of us just as biased and unreasonable about the realm of the spirit as were the ancients about the realm of the material? Even in the present century, American newspapers were afraid to print an account of the Wright brothers' first successful flight at Kitty Hawk. Had not all efforts at flight failed before? Did not Professor Langley's flying machine go into the bottom of the Potomac River? Was it not true that the best mathematical minds had proved man could never fly? Had not people said God had reserved this privilege to the birds? Only 30 years later, the conquest of the air was almost an old story, and airplane travel was in full swing. But in most fields, our generation has witnessed complete liberation of our thinking. Show any longshoreman a Sunday supplement describing a proposal to explore the moon by means of a rocket, and he will say, "I bet they do it. Maybe not so long either." Is not our age characterized by the ease with which we discard old ideas for new, by the complete readiness with which we throw away the theory or gadget which does not work for something new which does? We had to ask ourselves why we shouldn't apply to our human problems the same readiness to change our point of view. We were having trouble with personal relationships. We couldn't control our emotional natures. We were a prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. Was not a basic solution of these bedevilments more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight? Of course it was. When we saw others solve their problems by a simple reliance upon the spirit of the universe, we had to stop doubting the power of God. Our ideas did not work, but the God idea did. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jim. So for our answer readers, please speak clearly into your microphones. We'll ask the questions from our script by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff. The answers to the questions will be sentence by sentence, coming directly out of this week's study, beginning with the first sentence and ending with the last one. And it looks like my batting order was Nancy, Linda, William, Jim. Did you want to read, Jim? Yes, okay. And then I had Larry and Robert. Where'd you go, Robert?
I sent him an unmute key.
Good to go?
Yep. Everybody will have to unmute. I already sent you an unmute key. If you remute, then I'll have to send it to you again. Robert, could you turn the background noise down, please?
All right. Let's see here. And get myself together. Okay, starting at page 51. Starting with Miss Nancy. What sort of progress has our society made during this century?
This world of ours has made more material progress in the last century than in all the millenniums which went before.
Excellent, thank you. And Linda, does everyone know why?
Almost everyone knows the reason.
Excellent. And William, are we more intelligent than our ancestors?
Student of ancient history tell us that the intellect of men in those days was equal to the best of today.
Awesome. And Jim, this will be a 2-sentence. Why has material progress been so slow in previous centuries?
Yet in ancient times, material progress was painfully slow. The spirit of modern scientific inquiry, research, and invention was almost unknown.
Awesome, thank you. And Larry, what controlled the minds of men in the past?
In the realm of the material, men's minds were fettered by superiorization. Superstition, yeah. Excuse me.
Nice. A little bit more?
Oh, tradition and all sorts of fixed ideals.
Thanks, Larry. All right, and Robert, how did some folks feel about Columbus's idea that the world is round?
I'm having a little bit harder time with all that first edition, but it's because they thought it was preposterous.
The sentence is, some of the contemporaries of Columbus thought a round earth preposterous. Good job. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in with a comment here. Could Christopher Columbus have been an alcoholic? He sailed west to go east. When he left, he didn't know where he was going. When he got there, he didn't know where he was. When he got back home, he didn't know where he had been. And he went back and did it all over again and still didn't know. He wound up in jail and a woman financed the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
That's fantastic. Thank you. All right, back to Nancy. Why were folks angry at Galileo?
Others came near putting Galileo to death for his astronomical heresies.
Excellent. And Linda, with these facts in mind, we ask ourselves what?
We ask ourselves this: are not some of us just as biased and unreasonable about the realm of the spirit as were the ancients about the realm of the material?
Yes. And William, what was it that American newsmen were afraid to report?
Even in the present century, American newspaper was afraid to print an account of the Wright brothers' fully successful flight at Kitty Hawk.
That's right. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jim, what produced that fear? 2 sentences, please.
Had not all efforts at flight failed before? Did not Professor Langley's flying machine go to the bottom of the Potomac River?
Nice. And Larry, was there mathematical proof to refute the truth?
Was it not true that the best mechanical minds had proved man could never fly?
Excellent. I think Robert stepped away. I'm going to skip him this round. Nancy, back to you. People believed what?
Had not people said God had reserved this privilege to the birds?
Right. And Linda, but what did happen in a very few years?
Only 30 years later, the conquest of the air was almost as old story, and airplane travel was in full swing.
That's right. And William, What is true in most fields today? 2 sentences, please.
But in most fields, our generation has witnessed complete liberation of our thinking. Show is any longshoreman. 2 seconds. Show is any longshoreman a Sunday supplement describing a proposal to explore the moon by means of rockets, and we will say, I bet they do it. Maybe not so long either.
Awesome, thank you. And Jim, this is a 2-part question, but still only 1 sentence. What is one thing that will characterize our present generation, and we are completely ready to do what?
Is not our age characterized by the ease with which we discard old ideas for new, by the complete readiness with which we throw away the theory or gadget which does not work for something new which does?
Right. And Larry, what question did we have to ask ourselves?
We had to ask ourselves why we shouldn't apply to our human problems this same readiness to change our point of view.
That's right. And Robert, you good? I'm going to have you read the rest of the paragraph, starting with, we were having trouble.
Questions first, Shana.
Can you unmute him for me, please?
All
right, cool.
I don't think I'm there, because I have a first edition, so I'm finding the pages. For me, you guys could say it's on page 51, and for me, it's on like 60, so I have to skip.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
I appreciate you. I'll skip you this time. And we can mail you one. We can mail you a 4th edition. Going back to Miss Nancy. This is going to be reading the rest of the paragraph. I'll read the question first. With what were we having trouble? And looking at the quality of our lives, what seemed to be most important?
We were having trouble with personal relationships. We couldn't control the emotional natures. We were a prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We could seem to be of real help to other people. Was not a basic solution of this benevolence more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight? Of course it was.
I have another comment. How were your personal relationships? Did you have control of your emotions? Were you miserable and depressed?
Yep.
Were you rolling in money? Did you have a real purpose except to get another drink? Did you know fear? Were you really happy? How helpful to others were you?
And Linda, when we saw others solve these problems, we had to do what?
When we saw others solve their problems by simple reliance upon the spirit of the universe, we had to stop doubting the power of God. Our ideas did not...
that's all. Thank you. And William, how good were our ideas?
Our ideas did not work.
Excellent. And Jim, what did work?
But the God idea did.
Yay!
Yes.
We did good.
Yes, thank you, Alita.
All right. So if you have experience with the portion of the book that was just read, please feel free to share. Please be mindful of your time and that others may have their hands raised and are waiting to share. A friendly reminder as we share, absence of profanity offends no one. We are now open for comment, questions, observations, and spiritual experiences based on what was just read. And if you can't figure out the virtual hand, raise your hand, and we'll look for you. and it just popped up on me first was William.
Yes.
Yay!
You want to send the unmute keys?
Let's see.
Okay, I wasn't trying to raise my hand. I don't know. I'm not superstitious anymore, so God. Okay, then, but I was trying to lower my hand. I thought I was lowering it, but anyhow, I could share. What stood out at me tonight. What stood out at me tonight was when it was talking about these personal relationships, man. And the part where they say back in 1939, they said that man will be going to the moon. Wow, and that's just awesome, And definitely, you know what I mean. I have to be honest and tell you the truth, man. My personal relationship got better, but I'm still working on it since I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous. And the thing that helped me the most with this program, I have my own ideas. Say you have to get rid of them old ideas. I started getting rid of them old ideas. I'm not completely finished yet, but I'm still working on it. I'm much more happy now than I've ever been in my whole life. With my life in all areas of my life, I'm much happier now with my life because of this program and because of you and because of this big book, and I thank God for sending me here where I could learn how to be a purpose of God, and if I do that on a daily basis, I could be have a better relationship. Have a better relationship with my human beings, my fellow humans. So I thank God for that. So thank you for asking me to share with the leader and for picking on me.
I always appreciate when you share. Thank you, William. And Jim.
Thank you. Hey, good evening, everyone. Jim, an alcoholic. When we read the bedevilments, it took me back. When I was 22 years old, I was in training to be an x-ray technician, and I injured my back. And for some ungodly reason, I chose to have back surgery at 22 years old, and it changed my life, man. And I was married at the time, and I was having trouble with my personal relationship with my wife. I couldn't control my emotional nature. I was definitely upset and angry with her. And, I was a prey to misery and depression, and I was not able to make a living. I had lost my career. I had to start all over. And it was brutal. And it got me to go to a priest and ask for help, and he sent me to a therapy guy and they referred me to go to Al-Anon, and all that helped. And I should have stuck with the guy longer than what I did, but I didn't, and so I ended up here later on in life. But I could so relate to these bedevilments and how they beat me up. And my relationship with my wife, my current wife, is much, much better than any of the relationships I had in the past. I thought in the past, it was a asset to be a mean, nasty human being. I thought that was a good thing because I was being honest, don't you know? But I came to realize through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and reading these chapters over and over again that beating people up with what you're feeling and giving them an emotional acid bath of anger and self-pity is not a healthy way to have a relationship with another human being. And I have grown as a result of these steps. But when I read this paragraph, it takes me back to the way I was. And man, it makes me cry. And I feel sorry for that young man that I was. I had no idea how to deal with life on life's terms. Not at all. I mean, knew how to drink to deal with life, but didn't know how to deal with life on life's terms, to be a friend among friends, a worker among workers, a partner with my spouse, to be honest in a way, and to look at what was important to me. I was so codependent that I would do what somebody else said, even though I knew it wasn't the right thing for me. And can you imagine, they were rolling me down to the operating room to have surgery, and I knew in my gut that it wasn't the right thing, but I didn't have the courage to say, stop, let's not do this. But it was a life lesson. It was a life lesson. And good to be here with everybody. Great meeting, great reading tonight. And thank you for the gift of sobriety. And I keep coming back because I can't do it by myself.
Oh, thank you, Jim. And Larry, come on in.
Yeah, I'm Larry, and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I remember, through the years, I was spiraling and did not know I was spiraling. I had money to finance what I was doing. I was a professional gambler. I made a very, very handsome living as a professional scuba diver, and so here I was, because I was getting too old to do my regular pipe fitting job, and my back was getting worse and worse, and it got to the point, I can relate to the last share. It got to the point where something happened and I could not stand the pain, and I was rushed into the emergency room, and they took the x-rays and the MRIs, and they told me that I had no other recourse except for major surgery on my neck and my back, which I had been putting off for over 10 years. They had told me 10 years prior that I had no other option but surgery, and I said no. And I had worked for over 10 years, and at that point, I had no other recourse. I could not even stand up. I was flat on my back, and so I did, and that surgery turned into another surgery, which turned into 2 other surgeries, and I found myself not able. My career was over. My ability to finance my gambling was over. My whole life, that I was personified was over. And I wasn't realizing that what it was going to do, and I was, again, I never dreamed I would have to quit drinking. I never dreamed that I'd have to quit my lifestyle that I had built for myself, and so angry wasn't even the word. I was no good husband. I was a no good friend. I was a no good person, and here I was, and because of circumstances, I found myself in AA. And what I found in AA, in the condition that I was, bewildered and benevolent to the max, with problems of every kind, except for maybe depression. I don't know. I don't remember a lot of depression, except for afterwards at one time when I on a dry drunk type thing. But I remember coming into AA and I saw the members of AA and I saw the happiness and I saw the good life that they seemed to have. I saw people that I wanted to be like, that I wanted to emulate. Somehow I wanted whatever they had, and that's probably what made me stay in AA is I wanted what they had, and it took a while for me to get what they had, but I stayed because I wanted what they had, and I got it. Today I received what I saw when I first came into AA in the lives of those that were around the table. I found that experience that they had with their experience with God. And I'm so thankful for this program because it is an answer to our problems of life. That's all I got.
Thank you, Larry. Oh, I want to say it's Ryo. Did I say it the right way this time?
You did.
Yay!
Absolutely.
A doodle.
It's funny. We get sober, and one of the things that I get is my sense of humor back. I am a Vietnam veteran, and we trained together as a company, and then we went as a company, and we were dispersed over South Vietnam. And we had been together 9 or more months, and nobody knew each other's first name. But we did know that some of us would not be coming back. So we decided we've been together for 9 months, but we didn't know each other's first name. So we decided that we're going to learn each other's first name. So instead of Corporal Simmons, he was Alan, and I was Rayo. There was a guy named Chuck Riesmeyer, and but he didn't want to be called Chuck. He wanted to be called Chuck Orange, so we called him Chuck Orange. And we were a group. And when we got there, we landed, and then incoming water started coming into the airport where we landed. So we got a rude awakening right away. But I had learned growing up that God is all powerful, all knowing, all being, all everything. And then one of my friends that he just gotten married, because we were all of an age that we wanted to get home and be married. But he just got married, and as they sent him to Hawaii for a 3-day pass. He got married. His wife was pregnant, and they sent him back to Vietnam. And then one day he was on patrol, and I don't know the guy was in front of him, but hit something, probably a bouncing Betty, and it ripped his throat out. So they evacuated him, and yeah, they didn't tell us anything about anything, but you don't get your throat ripped out without being kind of serious. But I got mad at God. I said, if you're all knowing, all doing, all seeing, why don't you just snap your fingers and stop this craziness? I believe in you. and I got mad at God, and I started drinking at the same time. And I stayed drinking for 20 years, and I stayed angry at God for 20 years. And son of God, we get, one of the things we get back is our sense of humor. You know, that is recovery. To be able to laugh at ourselves, not at each other, but at ourselves, and the humorous things that I put myself through. Oh my God, it was horrible. And I drank for 20 years. And finally I was going to get fired because, you know, I'd go to Ivanhoe's at noon and sometimes I wouldn't come back, so on and so forth. And they were going to fire me. So I said, I think I have a drinking problem. I didn't have a drinking problem. I had a getting fired problem. But I knew that if I said I think I have a drinking problem, they had to send me to treatment. And that's how I went to treatment. And I told them in treatment, you know, I'm not an alcoholic. Said I drink. Sometimes I drink too much, but, you know, I'm not an alcoholic. And they said, keep coming back. The first day, the first few minutes, and they were already inviting me back. Isn't that nice? And that's how I started, March 3rd, 1988. And so far so good. I'm going to keep on keeping on and having a sense of humor. Because doggone it, we lose our sense of humor, I don't know what is left. God bless you. I love you. I couldn't even use the word love because my mother used to beat me, and I would say, I love you, Mommy, in order to stop the beating. So I couldn't even say the word love. God bless you guys. You know what? Tanya, I'm going to say it. God bless you. I love you. Thank you for my sobriety, and thank you for your tolerance. And I'll pass. Gracias.
Thank you so much. And Trish, come on in.
Hi everybody, I'm Trish, I'm an alcoholic. And you know, I'm looking over at what we read tonight, and I think I'm going to go backwards in my share. When I came in, I did see others solving their problems, and I didn't know what they were doing, but I knew I wanted it, and I wanted it now, which takes us up to, is not our age characterized by the ease in which we discard old ideas for new, by the complete readiness with which we throw away theory or gadget which does not work for something new which does. And for me, that's the instant gratification of life. And that's what I came in here looking for. I wanted to be fixed, and I wanted it now. I didn't realize that there was going to be work involved. But that work involved helping me find that God of my understanding. And I had to let go of the bias that I had growing up. And I had to let go of the realization that, you know, what I thought I knew about God wasn't necessarily what I knew about God. Which goes back to our old ideas didn't work. I had to come up with new ideas about who God was, what God was. Was he going to help me? Yes. And the fact that all I had to do was ask. He wasn't going to steamroll into my life and say, I'm going to fix it. I had to ask for that. And then I had to be patient, do some work, the steps, the program, and then wait for God's timing, not my timing. But the realization that I had to see what other people were doing, and they had that reliance on their higher power. It showed me that I could stop doubting that power of God, and then I could start believing in a God. Didn't know who he was, didn't know what he was, didn't know where he was. But slowly I built a relationship with that God. By watching you, by watching the people in the rooms, by seeing what you did. I like what you do, I like what you have. I'm not real keen on what you do, I'm not doing that. But by watching what other people did, and by seeing how they had that God reliance, over people reliance, over material things reliance, I came to the realization that I didn't have to rely
on other people, places, or things, then I could just rely on that God. And that's where we end up. My old ideas didn't work, but the God idea did. And as long as I keep my ideas and my focus on God, everything's going to work out. That's all I got tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Trish. Oh, Linda saved me. Let's see. I'm going to ask you. Oh, wait. Somebody already got you. Yay.
Hi, my name is. I'm an alcoholic. I like this part of the big book because it goes in depth about, God and being spiritual and then religion, two different things, and I can believe in God and I can pray to God and I can never go to church, and I can be a more devout Christian than a person sitting in church. So it's just my relationship with my God, and I used to ask, why does God allow things to happen? Why? And my grandmother, who was older, she let me know. She said, well, God gave us free will, so a lot of things are man-inflicted, and God is not going to interfere, And she pointed out to me, she said, how you're living, she said, that is your will. She said, God could stop it. She said, but it's your will. She said, and once you want to stop living the way you're living, she said, God will step in. She said, but at this point, she said, you're not too close to God. She said, you're far away from God. And I didn't know what she meant. I really didn't know what she meant, but I was far away from God. I didn't get close with God until I reached my bottom, and I was desperate and I was crying out for God. And then I had a sponsor. She was a really good sponsor. She was a great sponsor for people that are new. And she said, do you believe in God? And I said, yes. She said, well, I want you to start praying. She said, no, I said, I can't pray. I said, look at all the things I've done. And I started talking. She said, listen, she said, you can pray. She said, don't worry, you can still pray. You can still talk to God no matter how you've been living. Because I was raised on, it's a punishing God. If you're bad, you're going to go to hell. If you're good, you'll be in God's favor, But as I got older and being in AA and, getting a conscious contact with God, because you get that feeling inside of you as you stay in AA and you're practicing your, principles and your steps, then you get like a longing for something, more of a spiritual closeness with God, and I don't know, I just got closer with God, it's like a need that I had. And I was saying that to make this point of when I first came around thinking that God, I did such horrible things, God couldn't forgive me. And once I started, going to Bible study, there's a part in there where Moses killed a man. But then look all the things that God had Moses do. And I found out God is a very forgiving God. A very, very forgiving God. From what I understand being in AA, my God, I don't know the God that I had before I was raised on. My God is a kind, forgiving God. My God forgave me over and over. I remember when my son came home from being incarcerated. He had been incarcerated for 10 years, on and off. And finally he did a long stretch and he was home. And he wanted to say the prayer for Thanksgiving, and he held everybody's hands and he held my hand kind of tight. And he said, thank you, God, for giving second and third and fourth. And he kept going. Chances. And I know that's the kind of God that I have. And I like that sponsor, what she said about, do you believe in God? Well, just pray. How am I going to pray? She said, just talk like you have a conversation with me. Just talk to God. And I have a book that I wrote in, and I had a couple of days, then a couple of months, and I actually read it a while ago. And that was 37 years ago, because I'm 37-year sober now. And I'm like, damn, I had like a childlike mind, too. And what I was saying is I was pleading, I'm going to get kind of choked up when I say this, but I was pleading to God. I was like, please, stop me? Can you get rid of this compulsion? Can you stop me from drinking? Can you stop me from using? Can you stop me from being reckless? Can you stop me from neglecting my kids and hurting my family? Can you stop all of this madness? And I was begging and I was pleading with God, you know, and we don't get sober until we reach our bottom. That's it. That's the final word. We don't get sober unless we reach our bottom, you know. And for me to stay sober all these years and all the things that I've been through, you know, it was God. I had to get a God in my life. That was another part of my life. You know, to get a God in my life. I'll say this and I'll end. You know, God bring me to AA and then AA bring me right back to God. Thank you for letting me.
I love that. Thank you, Linda. Oh, nobody's going to save me with hands? I know Rick's got something. He's chewing that gum. He's really thinking. You want to come in, Rick?
Okay. When I'm invited to do something in the program, I'll laugh and I'll do it. No, thank you for the shares, and it's that simple with me the way Linda described it. It's when I was a child and I was in a rich alcoholic and I was in a Catholic school for a bit. I did schooling in some different places, and you know, but a lot of them were religious schools, and I stole a bag of chips. That's the little bag of potato chips. They had the 5 cents price on it, and then came to me and said, "Did you put your nickel in the can with?" And I didn't lie. I wanted to, but I didn't lie. I said, I don't have one. And she put one in there for me. And she says, and you can do it for somebody else tomorrow. And I thought she was going to write a note, take it home to mom and dad so they could sign it. But none of that happened. But she said something. She says, that's good because God punished those who lie, and they will go to hell. I didn't believe in that. I didn't say that to her. I just listened to her, and I did not believe that. I never believed in God as a punishing God. It just didn't. It just wasn't that way with me. Asking him for help can work. Like, I don't pray for storms to stop or anything like that. I ask him to help us all get through it, no matter what kind of storm we're getting. Anyways, so when I came to the program, I had my first sponsor would say, you need to invite him in. You need to invite him in, Ricky. You need to invite him in. And I wouldn't. I wasn't done with my will. I wasn't done with the drink. I wasn't done trying it my way. Even though I was coming to the program, I was still trying to do it my way. 2008, I came and took a seat in AA. 2010 is my sobriety date. And I knew it would work. I was still choosing to drink instead of praying to God or turning to God for help. That's the insanity I had. I desperately needed step 2, and I did not know it. And when I finally did, and I'm sitting in a meeting after I did, after about a couple of weeks of inviting God in, I'm sitting in a meeting, and the topic is, not drinking, and go figure. And I said to myself, And it's been a couple of weeks since you've had a drink. It's been a couple of weeks since you went to a liquor store before or after a meeting. You know, and here's the thing, when I didn't share it or anything. Didn't even think of sharing it. I go and I see my sponsor the next day or something, and I tell him about that thought, and he said, "Did you share that?" I said, "No," and he said, "You might have helped another." And when he said that, I remember giving a damn. I regretted not saying it. And this is a time when Rick was still in his the selfish alcoholic who was just taking up space. Things started to happen with me, so I keep him close today. I keep him very close. I turned to him this morning. I mostly spoke to him, and I said a couple of prayers. Sometimes I'll say more prayers. But on my way out the door, when I have to leave in the morning, I no longer say, I'll pray I'll get in the car and pray to him. Yeah, well, that doesn't work, because I can pray to him in the car until somebody cuts me off. So I pray before I go out the door, even if it's just for a few minutes. And so turning to God was the answer for me. And one more thing, and yes, whatever goes on in the world, in the country, whatever mankind is doing to each other, that is mankind's will. There's self-will running riot. Has nothing to do with God. Just the way I see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I knew you had something good. Terry! Partner in crime over here.
Yeah, good meeting tonight, everybody. I'm Terry, recovered alcoholic. And, I have to, be so focused on this when we're reading so that I could insert my comments in the appropriate place. So this really kind of makes me more, more open to what's being said. And the part that I keep coming back is a complete liberation of my thinking. Because if I look back to where I was when I first got sober and my thinking today, it's just, or my higher power, even just using that example, my higher power was just this force that I got to make up and kept doing miracle after miracle. Yet I still resisted. And slowly over time, it's developed into this relationship that I have with my higher power. And that's that God idea, solving my problems on my own thinking just has never worked. And it doesn't work today. But I've picked up some tools along the way. I got to spend this weekend on a spiritual retreat with the 12-step program. So it's all the 12-steppers. It doesn't matter. We don't care. As long as you're working a 12-step program. And we just had such an amazing spiritual experience, just walking around the grounds and looking for miracles and looking for the beauty and just opening my closed mind, because it can be. I could clamp shut in an instant, but I was so open to the beauty and the friendships and the singing. We did lots of singing and dancing, and we just had such a great time and wonderful food. So, graduated to another point in my spirituality, in my God life. And I can experience happiness today. And I was in my mid-40s before I knew what that was. I was not happy. Maybe when I had my children, when I was a young mom, but happiness eluded me for so many years, especially at the end of my drinking. And today I could laugh, I could be happy. I know the solution. I woke up today with post-retreat blah, kind of depression. I didn't really want to get up and do anything. I want to be up there, the top of the hill, with a bunch of spiritual women dancing around and laughing. But I knew what the solution was, and that was to get up, get my bathing suit on, and go to the water aerobics class. The minute I hit the water, my attitude changed. And I was laughing and just having a good time again. So the difference between when I first got sober and today is God shows me what the solutions are. I know what the solutions are. I know, not in all cases. When we were driving home, my friend said to me, "You're wrong a lot, and you never admit it. You never fess up to it." And I said, "Oh, how so?" I said, I said, I try and admit when I'm wrong, but I have to know that I'm wrong before I can admit to it. And she backed off. But I was very kind and loving and wanted to know, what do you think it is that, makes me wrong? But it turns out it was a political issue. So I just kind of went, whatever. So anyway, I love you guys. It was a great meeting tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.
Love you too, Terry. Thank you. And Jamie.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and thank you to everybody for your service tonight. It's been a great meeting. I always talk about this, that this chapter is the beginning of coming to believe. It doesn't say I had to believe. It says that I come to believe. And I love at the end of page 57 in the last paragraphs, there are 3 promises that come to us. Even so, God has restored us all to our right minds. And He has come to all who have honestly sought. And when we drew near, He revealed Himself to us. It doesn't say He drew near, but when we drew near. I've heard a little bit tonight about people talking about God's will and stuff and questioning. There's this thing called God's permissive will. And the reason God's permissive will exists is because He's given us our free will. Otherwise, we'd be like a pile of ants all running around doing the same thing. But we're not. And how often in life, when we get in trouble, do we take our little God box out, open it up just a little bit, enough to say a prayer, God, get me out of this, I'll never do it again, and then slam that box shut again. This chapter gave me a pathway to let go of old ideas and old beliefs and open my heart and mind to new ideas and new beliefs, along with the personal stories in the back, because I could see that things were working in their lives. Holding up an acorn between my fingertips. When a man can make an acorn, then maybe he can call himself my God, but I have yet to see a man produce one of these, but the God of my experience has. So I'll stick with that God. And as I was listening and I walked into the kitchen for a second, As many times as in my life that I claim to be mad and upset with God, it just occurred to me I wasn't upset with God at all. What I was mad and upset about was how everybody else told me that God was mad at me. I was upset with the church telling me that I wasn't good enough, my grandmother telling me I would never be good enough and that I was going to hell. So the truth is I've never been mad at God. But I was certainly mad and resentful at those who were trying to force their interpretation of God on me rather than letting me find my own. This whole chapter becomes the beginning of finding my personal relationship with God, and in the next step I invite him in. And then in 4, 5, 6, and 7 I learn what my will in my life has actually been through the inventory process. 5, I admit it to somebody else. They ask me some really stupid questions like, are you willing to forgive that person? And I found out I was. And in step 6, I become willing to believe that God can remove the things in myself which I have found unobjectionable. And in step 7, I ask him to do it. So all of this is a process, and step 2 is just coming to believe that something out there is greater than me. You know, last week we talked about the prosaic girder. Each one of us goes to get on a Zoom meeting. We have faith that we're going to end up in a Zoom meeting, don't we? We all absolutely believe that. We have faith that when we turn on the light switch, the light's going to come on, our car's going to start, the toilet's going to flush, we're going to be able to cook dinner. We have faith in all of that stuff that has been given us through science and technology. Yet we have little faith in trusting something that we can't see, touch, or feel. So I'm sure a couple of us have driven over some very large bodies of water a time or two. I can't see what's holding that bridge up, but I have faith it's not going to come crashing down on me. And tonight I talked about the Wright brothers and their childlike faith. I mean, they were just trying to get off a sand dune when they did that. But here today, we can get on a plane and we can fly all across the world, and all we have is a little bit of turbulence. So what's life on life's terms? If we're trying to align ourselves with God, life on life terms is just a little bit of turbulence. That's all it is. It's very simple. And when I trust God, what happens is I get through that turbulence and I get to the other side, and no harm has come to me except the harm that I have done to myself by trying to control it and manipulate it. There is not somebody could walk in my house and murder me right now. But do they actually have the power to harm me? No. You know why? Because the power of me being harmed exists in my mind. Sure, they can kill me. Guess what? If I die, it's time for God to take me home. I don't have to put up with all this stuff anymore. But it's how I perceive things. And what I have learned, there's lots of people who have faith but don't know God, don't have a relationship with God. There's lots of people who believe they have no relationship with God. But I have the God of my experience today in my life that's brought me through more pain, more grief, more shame, more suicidal and homicidal thoughts, and I never had to take action on any of it. And I trust God with everything, and I take everything to God today. even the little stupid stuff, I take to God. Because if I don't, and I don't take even the most trivial of things to God, what will happen is Jamie will put himself back in charge. And I will start edging God out of the process of my life. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to run over a minute or two here. Some of you have seen this, some of you haven't. Trish and Shayna are already smiling. And I'm going to talk about the 12 and 12 for just a second. In the last page and a half of the 12 and 12, it talks about our whole problem had been the misuse of our free will, and we had been going through our lives trying to bombard all of our problems with our free will. And it talks about when we make our free will align and conform with what God's will for us, it is the proper use of free will. So those of you who have never met my friends the spoons, these are the spoons. Let me introduce you. And the little spoon is me. The big spoon is God. And I'm out here in life making decisions on thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and I am all over the place like a handball loose in a handball court. And I'm making some pretty gosh darn painful decisions in life. And I think I'm hip, slick, and cool, and everything is wonderful, and everybody should be doing for me. Notice how much bigger God's will is than mine. The difference in the spoons. So, when I followed the program of action that's outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, what happens is as I continue to take the steps, I move myself closer and closer to God's will. And as I go through the process, I begin to live in God's will, and what happens, His will eclipses mine. Many of us hear step 3, and we hear turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him, and we interpret it to turn our will and our lives over to the control of God. If God wanted control over my life, He would not have given me free will. So I still have free will, and I'm in alignment with God, and I've done this sober. I step right back out here into my free will anytime I want. New car, new guitar, new girl, whatever it might be. And when life becomes painful enough and I start swirling the drain and I'm making those emotional decisions again, I start realigning myself with God's will. And it becomes that place of peace, love, happiness, joy, contentment, serenity, compassion, and love for others. And I know that I'm living in God's will. And you know what happens if I'm not doing that, folks? Wait for it. I am forking myself today. That's the deal. Thanks.
If only you were wearing your shirt tonight.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you're right. I should have been wearing that shirt, huh?
All right, and thank you. I don't see any more hands. I think we've had a meeting. Terry, are you able to bring us home?
I could bring us home. I'd be honored. Okay, we close this meeting a little bit differently since we're not all together. We're in all parts of the country and of the world. So we hold hands virtually.
Did we forget the reading? It's in your script book. What do we read?
Okay. I got it, Jamie. Thank you. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you could do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is a great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Freely give of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Okay, so I will admit my faults to all of you. I did not see that part, so I apologize to all of you. Okay, now we can lift our virtual hands together, and after a moment of silence for the alcoholic who's still suffering out there in and out of these rooms, we'll say the Lord's Prayer together. Here's your moment. Okay. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Shana.
Thanks, everybody.
Everyone, have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a great day.
Welcome